Welcome back to the Red Dice Diaries, and in this player tips video I'm going to be talking about acting out your damage. Now, you've probably heard the term selling connected with RPGs, and if you haven't, it basically means reacting in a way that's appropriate for your character. So, for instance, if someone with high intimidation lays a social beat down on your character, then you would act intimidated. Or if a strong man bent an iron bar in front of you, your character would probably be impressed by their strength. It's just acting in a way that's appropriate for your character and trying to portray that to the other players and to the GM, which after all is what's really at the heart of roleplay. Now, there's lots of ways that selling can add to your performance, and it'll certainly get you a lot of goodwill from both your GM and other players. If you're new to this idea, then one of the easiest ways to start acting in this manner and lifting up your game performance is to act out damage taken by your character. Now, before some of you go rushing to your cupboard for your fake blood, and yes, I've got some fake blood in my cupboard, let's talk about what we mean by acting out the damage. Well, obviously the average tabletop game isn't going to have blood packs, fake wounds, special effects, etc. Although if you have pulled this off somehow, kudos to you and hook me up with an invite to your game, but most games won't. That doesn't mean, however, that you still can't act it out. Now, no one's expecting you to give a 100% accurate portrayal of someone who has been shot, stabbed, or whatever, but here are just a few little things to keep in mind to help you act out taking damage. And number one is think about where your character has actually been hit. How can you indicate that? For instance, maybe you clutch at the wounded area with your hand as you're trying to stem the blood flow, or maybe closing one of your eyes if you've been injured there, or perhaps speaking in a hushed whisper if your throat has been damaged, as was the case with one of the player characters in my recent Jadepunk session. Another thing is that people often cry out or make exclamations when they're injured. That's also something you can do. Well, obviously be careful, certainly if you're in a hangout, not to deafen anyone by screaming into your microphone. Obviously you want it to sound good and you want it to go over well and to sell your performance, but you don't need to deafen everyone else while you're doing it. Perhaps you could even give a more immediate reaction when the injury is inflicted. So perhaps if someone comes in for a punch, your head snaps around and you move backwards a little bit, or perhaps if someone uppercuts you, your head goes backwards, or whatever. And number two, think about how long the effect is going to last. Now, this can vary depending on how available and what form healing takes within your campaign. However, until you get rid of the damage or condition that's been inflicted on you, you're going to be suffering from that effect. So make sure you pick a manner of illustrating the damage that you are comfortable with portraying for a while. Don't be clutching your shoulder 1 minute or croaking or whatever and then be fine the next, because it makes it seem like you've just shrugged off the injury, and it can strain disbelief, obviously assuming that you've not been healed. So there's a couple of tips for portraying your injuries, and that can add, such a simple tip can add an awful lot to a game. After all, what's more interesting when your GM says to you, oh, the guard stabs you with his sword for 3 points of damage? Is it more interesting to pick up your notepad and go, oh, okay, I'll cross off 3 hit points, there we go, right, okay, what happens now? And carry on. Or when they say, oh, the guard stabs you with his sword for 3 damage, you go, ugh! And stagger back and hold your side as though the damage has actually been inflicted on you, and keep that going throughout the combat or the scenes that you're in that follow it. So even if you're making your own attacks back, you might have one hand down here clutching your side as you're sort of trying to fend off their attack. And just that simple level of acting things out and selling that idea that you've actually taken some damage can add an awful lot to your game, and it's a very simple thing to do. So I hope if you've enjoyed this video, you'll click on like and subscribe by clicking on the red dice up in the corner there. If you have any comments, as always, put them in the comments box down below, or hit me up in the Google Plus links. I really do enjoy reading what you write. And until I see you next time, take care and happy gaming.